Stephen A. Smith took aim at Dillon Gabriel after he tried to throw shade at Shedeur Sanders. Smith didn't just clap back. He launched a full-scale, scorched-earth assault that turned Gabriel's comment into a career-defining mistake. Shedeur Sanders, already under the spotlight thanks to his bloodline and breakout performances, didn't even need to respond. Stephen A. did it for him, and he didn't hold back. From questioning Gabriel's credibility to slicing through his stats like a Ginsu knife, Smith made it very clear. This wasn't just about football. This was about respect.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
About who gets to speak and who hasn't earned that right yet. Gabriel had unintentionally walked into a cultural buzzsaw. Shedeur isn't just another quarterback. He's a media magnet, a rising symbol of black excellence in college sports, and the son of one of football's most iconic figures. Taking a shot at him isn't just unwise. It's televised career suicide. Stephen A. Smith understood the weight of that moment, and with every syllable, he turned Gabriel's attempted dig into a national moment of embarrassment. What made the takedown so brutal wasn't just the volume. It was the precision. Smith exposed the gap between bravado and legacy, between relevance and reach. Shedeur's stock is skyrocketing, built on grit, media savvy, and a growing highlight reel. Gabriel, meanwhile, had no business playing the villain. His resume couldn't carry the weight of that role. And now, he's not remembered for a game-winning pass or a gutsy playoff push. He's remembered for getting cooked on live TV by the loudest voice in sports media. Stephen A. didn't just defend Shedeur. He reset the narrative. And in doing so, he reminded every athlete watching, disrespect has consequences, especially when the cameras are rolling and Stephen A. has the mic. Dillon Gabriel made one of the oldest mistakes in the sports playbook. He talked trash before proving he could walk the walk. And unfortunately for him, that mistake didn't just cost him a little bit of dignity. It triggered one of the most ruthless, unrelenting takedowns ever delivered on live television. The executioner? Stephen A. Smith. When Gabriel decided to take a shot at Shedeur Sanders, he probably thought it would just be a throwaway comment. Maybe something to rile up fans. Maybe just a subtle jab to stir up the preseason chatter. But what he underestimated, badly, was just how unprepared he was to challenge someone like Shedeur. And worse, he failed to anticipate that Stephen A. Smith would be watching. The moment Gabriel's words made it into the sports media bloodstream, they ignited a wildfire. Stephen A. didn't waste a single second before pouncing. On national television, with the full force of his platform and reputation, Smith delivered a verbal beatdown that will likely haunt Gabriel for the rest of his career. This wasn't just commentary. It was a full-body dissection of Gabriel's entire presence in college football. Smith called it like he saw it. He called out the lackluster stats, the forgettable performances, the absence of anything resembling a breakout moment. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, by comparison, was described as a force, a player not only delivering under pressure, but thriving in it. Gabriel tried to come for Sanders' credibility and instead had his own ripped to shreds. What Stephen A. emphasized wasn't just about numbers. It was about presence. He reminded everyone that Sanders has something Gabriel doesn't. Momentum, attention, and a gravitational pull that brings the cameras, the fans, and the respect. And that respect? It's earned, not handed out because your name is on a roster, not assumed because you play a few years. It's something you build week by week through performance and poise. Shedeur has it. Gabriel does not. And Smith made sure the world knew it. Gabriel's mistake wasn't just arrogance. It was bad strategy. It was reckless. And in this sport, where narrative is everything and reputations can be flipped in a single segment, he handed the media a storyline on a silver platter. The underachieving quarterback who took a cheap shot at the star and ended up buried under the backlash. The most brutal part? Gabriel's jab did the opposite of what he intended. Rather than bringing Sanders down, it elevated him. It reinforced Shedeur's star power, showing how unshakable his reputation is. Gabriel gave him free publicity. He gave him sympathy. And Stephen A. gave him even more firepower by turning the entire conversation into a cautionary tale. That's the irony of this whole situation. Gabriel's comments didn't weaken Shedeur. They made him stronger, because Shedeur didn't have to respond. He didn't have to clap back. The football world handled it for him. Stephen A. was the loudest, but fans, analysts, and even rival players piled on to call out how ridiculous Gabriel's critique was. What made the moment even more significant was the cultural undercurrent running beneath it. Smith didn't ignore it. He leaned into it. He pointed out that Shedeur Sanders represents more than just a talented player. He's the face of a cultural shift in college football. A young black quarterback who carries not just his own expectations, but a legacy of his father, Deion Sanders. That legacy comes with pressure, scrutiny, and media noise that most players will never experience. And despite all that, Shedeur has delivered, game after game, camera flash after camera flash. He performs like someone built for the moment, calm under pressure, composed in the spotlight, and consistent on the field. And that consistency is what gives him credibility, the kind you can't fake, the kind Dillon Gabriel clearly doesn't understand, because if he did understand it, he never would have opened his mouth. Gabriel's dig revealed more about himself than it ever did about Sanders. It showed insecurity. It showed desperation. It showed a need to be in the conversation, even if it meant punching above his weight. But the thing about punching up, when you miss, you fall harder. And Gabriel didn't just miss. He whiffed so badly that it instantly became a defining media moment of his preseason. Smith didn't just critique Gabriel's comment. He used it to expose a bigger issue, how players try to force relevance instead of earning it. He called out the look-at-me culture that feeds off of controversy instead of performance. And in doing so, he didn't just put Gabriel in check. He sent a warning to every athlete watching. This is what happens when you don't respect the power of narrative. This is what happens when you forget that the media doesn't just report stories. It creates them. Stephen A. turned Gabriel's poor judgment into a masterclass on the dangers of talking without delivering. He contrasted Gabriel's fleeting media moment with Sanders' steady rise, reminding everyone that the spotlight belongs to those who can actually handle it. And if you can't, the media will eat you alive. There's also the issue of legacy, something Gabriel doesn't seem to grasp. Shedeur isn't just some hotshot quarterback with a famous last name. He's a symbol of generational excellence, a product of discipline, swagger, and athletic IQ. His lineage matters, not because it guarantees success, but because it creates pressure most players can't survive. And yet, Shedeur has thrived under that pressure. His stats back it up. His leadership proves it. And his silence after Gabriel's jab, that said more than any trash talk ever could. Smith hammered that point hard. He made it crystal clear. This isn't just about football. It's about respect. Cultural respect. Media respect. Peer respect. And Gabriel violated every level of it with a comment he couldn't back up. And now, he's become the blueprint for what not to do. This isn't just a PR hit. It's a full-on narrative shift. Gabriel's reputation has taken a hit that won't easily fade. When people mention him now, it won't be about his best throw or his biggest win. It'll be about the time he took a swing at a star and got dragged by Stephen A. Smith in front of the nation. Meanwhile, Shedeur walks away untouched, stronger, bigger, and even more admired for staying above the noise. His legend grows while Gabriel's credibility crumbles, all because one player tried to knock down another without the game to justify it. So what's the takeaway here? It's simple. In sports, as in life, clout isn't earned through disrespect. It's earned through performance, resilience, and knowing when to shut up and work. And if you try to shortcut your way into relevance with a cheap shot, you better be prepared for someone like Stephen A. to end your moment before it ever begins. And now, we've reached the part where we hand out the final honors. The Stay in Your Lane Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Dillon Gabriel for doing the most to say the least. The Media Assassin Gold Medal goes to Stephen A. Smith because no one delivers a televised takedown with more flair and finality. The Unbothered Excellence trophy belongs to Shedeur Sanders, still shining, still rising, and still winning without ever saying a word. Now we want to hear from you. Was Stephen A. too harsh, Or did Dillon Gabriel deserve every second of that televised dragging? Is Shedeur Sanders the most unbothered player in college football right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know how you feel. And if you love this kind of breakdown, raw, real, and drama-filled, make sure to subscribe. Because in the world of sports, reputation is everything, and there's always someone ready to lose theirs on live TV. Dillon Gabriel didn't just say the wrong thing. He said the wrong thing at the worst possible time, about the worst possible person, and got exposed by the worst possible person to mess with in media. This wasn't just a misstep. It was a meltdown in slow motion. And Stephen A. Smith, he was a judge, jury, and executioner, live on ESPN, during peak viewership, with all the receipts ready. There's a reason Stephen A.'s takedown hit so hard. It wasn't personal. It was professional. It was calculated. It was journalism laced with venom. Because Smith didn't just react emotionally, he analyzed the situation. He dissected it like a cultural autopsy. He didn't just call Gabriel's comment disrespectful. He framed it as career malpractice. Because let's be real. In 2025, if you're a college quarterback and you have the audacity to come for Shedeur Sanders, you better have numbers. Not vibes. Not opinions. Not, well, I think I belong in the conversation energy. Numbers. And Gabriel's numbers? Just okay. Some flashes of potential. Sure. But nowhere near the consistency, leadership, or impact that Sanders brings every single week. This isn't a he said situation. It's a side-by-side resume comparison, and one of those resumes clearly belongs in a future NFL draft war room. The other belongs in a media cautionary tale. What Stephen A. really exposed wasn't just Gabriel's poor judgment. It was his irrelevance. And that's the kiss of death in sports. Being bad is one thing. Being forgettable is worse. Gabriel tried to hijack the spotlight by challenging the name on everyone's lips, and instead, he highlighted how little he's done to earn that same attention. The media is not stupid. They know narratives sell. They know stars drive clicks. And Shedeur Sanders? He is the narrative. He's got the swagger, the story, the stats, and the Sanders name. He's the kind of athlete that turns casual fans into diehards. The kind who plays under pressure like it's background noise. The kind who doesn't have to say a single word to dominate a news cycle. And that's the difference. Shedeur didn't ask for this fight. He didn't need it. His numbers and name do all the talking. But Gabriel, he needed this moment. He needed people to say his name. And now, they are, but for all the wrong reasons. Stephen A. Smith saw through it instantly. He called it what it was, a clout-chasing move wrapped in insecurity, a weak attempt to tear down someone else instead of stepping up yourself. And that's why it landed so hard. Because when you're in the media crosshairs and your resume can't hold up under pressure, it's game over. Smith didn't just critique Gabriel's stats. He put them in context. He talked about the level of competition, the stakes of the games, the lack of signature moments, the complete absence of anything that would suggest Gabriel deserves to even be in the same sentence as Sanders. And that's what really drove the point home. Because this wasn't a rivalry. It wasn't even a fair comparison. It was a journeyman calling out a generational talent and getting demolished in the court of public opinion for even trying. Gabriel's biggest problem wasn't that he made a controversial statement. It's that he made a brittle one that collapsed under even the slightest scrutiny. And once Stephen A. applied pressure, the whole thing came crumbling down. Fast. You could feel the tide turn in real time. Social media lit up with clips, reactions, memes. Gabriel became a trending topic, but not in the way he hoped. There's nothing worse than thinking you're delivering a mic drop moment, only for someone else to pick up the mic and end you with it. That's exactly what Smith did. He framed Gabriel's comment as not just wrong, but embarrassing, a desperate attempt at relevance. And worst of all, an insult to a player who's done everything right. Sanders hasn't been loud. He hasn't disrespected anyone. He's just played and excelled. So to be met with shade from someone who hasn't sniffed the same level of hype, it struck a nerve. And Stephen A. knew it. He leaned into the cultural significance of Shedeur's journey. The expectations, the scrutiny, the weight of being Deion Sanders' son, The racial undertones of how black quarterbacks are still held to higher standards, judged more harshly, and often have to be twice as good to earn half the respect. Gabriel's comment didn't just come off as cocky. It came off tone deaf. At best, it was a poor read of the moment. At worst, it echoed a long history of undercutting black excellence through petty critique. Either way, Smith wasn't about to let that slide. The way he tore into Gabriel wasn't just about this one comment. It was about everything that moment represented. The media's power, the politics of perception, the cultural weight behind a name like Sanders, the expectations placed on young black athletes to be perfect in a system that gives others endless grace, and how quickly someone can be reduced to a footnote when they try to punch up without the chops to back it. Gabriel's fall wasn't just steep, it was televised, and while his camp might try to spin it, the damage is already done. His name is attached to a viral L. His quote, immortalized as a spark that ignited one of the most emphatic clapbacks in recent sports commentary. And Shedeur? He walks away clean, elevated, reaffirmed. There's a poetic balance to it all. One player disrespected the moment, and the other let the moment prove exactly why he's on another level. The silence from Shedeur was strategic, but powerful. He didn't need to defend himself. The community did it for him. The media did it for him. Stephen A. did it for him. And Gabriel? He learned a lesson many players never recover from. The microphone isn't a toy. It's a weapon. And when you aim it at the wrong person, it can and will explode in your hands. That explosion just lit up his entire image. So what's the aftermath? For Shedeur, nothing changes, except maybe his draft stock going up thanks to all the noise swirling around him that he didn't even have to cause. For Gabriel, everything is now a test. Every snap, every interview, every comment. He'll have to work twice as hard just to move the spotlight away from this moment. Because now the public is watching. And not with curiosity, with skepticism. They're wondering if he can bounce back. If he can earn the platform he tried to hijack. If he can play with the same fire he showed in that comment. And if he can do it consistently, quietly, humbly, because until he does, his name is attached to one thing and one thing only, getting dragged by Stephen A. Smith on live television for coming after someone way out of his league. And as far as public narratives go, that one's gonna stick. So here's your final takeaway. In the world of sports, reputation is a fragile thing. And in the age of instant clips and social media outrage, a single line, one miscalculated shot, can define your entire season. Dillon Gabriel didn't just learn that the hard way. He broadcasted it. And Shedeur Sanders? He remains untouchable. Not because he claps back, but because he doesn't have to. He's doing what stars do, winning, performing, and letting everyone else crumble trying to reach his level. Dillon Gabriel's biggest mistake wasn't just a comment. It was thinking he could casually throw shade at a player who's been bulletproof under the biggest spotlight in college football and not have it blow up in his face. And in the age of viral media, where narratives flip faster than a Twitter feed refresh, it took less than 24 hours for Gabriel to go from a respected quarterback to the poster child for talk less, play more. And who made sure that transformation was loud, televised, and utterly inescapable? Stephen A. Smith. This wasn't just commentary. This was a dismantling, a public audit of credibility, a loud, theatrical reminder that if you want to take shots at a player like Shedeur Sanders, you better bring more than mediocre numbers and preseason chatter. You better have substance. You better have stats. You better have a resume. Gabriel had none of the above. Stephen A. came prepared. He wasn't ranting for entertainment. He was firing facts like bullets. He laid out the numbers. Sanders' efficiency, his accuracy, his poise under pressure. Then he flipped the mirror around and showed what Gabriel had to offer. Inconsistent play, forgettable games, and a resume that would be lucky to register as solid in the current QB landscape. You could hear the sting through the screen. And that sting wasn't just about performance. It was about relevance. Because at the end of the day, Gabriel tried to force his way into a conversation that wasn't about him. No one was checking for Dillon Gabriel. No one was analyzing his tape in awe. The spotlight wasn't his, and his attempt to grab it by tearing down someone else was not only obvious, it was embarrassing. That's why Stephen A.'s takedown resonated so widely. Because it wasn't just about sports, it was about positioning. It was about knowing where you stand in the hierarchy of performance and perception. And Gabriel clearly misread the room. Badly. You can't play a supporting role and try to upstage the lead without consequences. And Shedeur, he is the lead. He's the one with the stats, the story, the media magnetism, the it factor. Gabriel's comment only confirmed what everyone already suspected, that he knows he's not in the same league, and that envy is a powerful motivator, especially when you're losing ground fast. The cultural layer? That made the moment hit even harder. Stephen A. didn't shy away from it. He addressed the undertone that a lot of viewers were already picking up on. The way black quarterbacks are still subjected to doubt, critique, and casual disrespect that others seem to avoid. Shedeur Sanders, a young black man in the most high-pressure position in sports, has handled that weight with grace. He's done everything right, on and off the field, and still, someone felt the need to knock him down without merit. That's why this wasn't just sports talk. This was a cultural correction. A reminder that the old playbook, minimize, undermine, discredit, doesn't work when receipts are this strong. Shedeur's numbers aren't just good. They're headline-worthy. His media presence isn't just solid. It's dominant. He hasn't just lived up to the Sanders name. He's actively building his own legacy. And when you see someone earning every bit of their shine, the last thing you want to hear is someone trying to dim it with cheap words. Especially when those words are coming from someone who hasn't earned that mic. And Gabriel? He held the mic just long enough to dig a hole he can't climb out of. The fallout is already here. His name is attached to this moment permanently. No amount of backpedaling, PR spin, or future interviews will change the fact that, in the eyes of the sports world, he tried to take a shot at a star and ended up being used as the example of what not to do. Because that's what this is now. A blueprint for bad judgment. A masterclass in how to torch your own credibility in under 30 seconds. And as Stephen A. pointed out so clearly, this wasn't about being wrong. It was about being loud and wrong, which is the most dangerous combination in sports media. And the most ironic part? Shedeur never had to respond. Not a tweet, not a quote, not even a raised eyebrow. He just kept working, kept leading, kept showing up and letting the performance speak. That kind of restraint, that's what separates real stars from people just chasing clout. Gabriel gave in to the moment. Shedeur rose above it. One is playing chess. The other is fumbling the checkers board. So now, we're left with a clear lesson, spelled out across every platform, podcast, and panel. Don't start drama you're not built to finish. If your game is elite, your opinion won't carry weight. And if you come for someone who's dominating the space, you better be ready to get humbled. Loudly, publicly, permanently. So what do you think? Was Stephen A.'s response a needed reality check? Or did he go too far? Should Gabriel have known better? Or is all of this just part of the new media landscape? Drop your take in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, because in the world of sports controversy, the only thing faster than a viral moment is a reputation going up in flames.